Welcome to HIT, Hollywood International Talks, a series of conversations that take place around the globe with international film industry players who influence the filmmaking process, from film commissioners, producers, and distributors to film festival directors and filmmakers. All brought to you by The Film Verdict, the premium international film review platform for the industry.
Hi, this is Eric Micah, the president and publisher of The Film Verdict. And I'm taking over once again today the show Showcast and introducing a new show called Hollywood International Talks, or better known as HITS or HIT. And today I'm with someone who's really super interesting. And it even starts with the first name that's interesting, and even where she comes from and what she does. So it's all rather kind of interesting. It's a bigger name. And I'm going to have a self-introduction this time, but also sitting next to me once again is Kelly Jones, who's the general manager of The Film Verdict. And we are sitting in Los Angeles today. Thankfully, it is sunny, and it's the AFCI week. And so I'm speaking with a very particular film commissioner, and I'm going to do a self-introduction. Who are you? Where do you come from? And what is your name?
Hi, my name is Biga Metzner, and I am the film commissioner for the Moab to Monument Valley Film Commission, based in Moab, Utah, is where I live. I was born and raised in New York City, but I have been in Moab on and off for a very, very long time. So
one of the questions, we're a very international platform, from Asia to Europe, the Middle East, and we have a lot of international people who listen and read The Film Verdict. But so the question is, where exactly is that? How do you get there? And what is there once you get there?
Where is Moab, Utah?
Yeah.
Oh, Moab, Utah is in the southeastern corner of the state of Utah. I think I said Utah like a couple too many times there, but it is one of the most beautiful corridors in the state. So Moab, the state of Utah is shaped like a square with a little notch out of it, and I'm sort of in the bottom right-hand corner, and I represent two different counties, Grand County and San Juan County, which is what makes me the Moab to Monument Valley Film Commission. So I'm a regional office to the state office.
Excellent.
The Utah Film Commission.
So that explains the name and
yes.
so forth.
And how do you get there?
And how do you get there?
Well, there's airplanes work. You can do it. You can do it on a plane. We have a local airport. It's called Canyonlands, CNY. We actually have two real airlines that fly out of there. United flies through Denver, and Delta flies through Salt Lake City. I mean, it usually still takes quite a bit of time, or you fly into Salt Lake City or you fly into Grand Junction, Colorado is only about an hour.
And so in my mind, and I'm sure in the mind of many, many people, it's beautiful. And what sort of productions do you attract to your region?
It happens to be one of the most stunning locations, I believe, on the planet. And I am from New York. And New York City is beautiful in and of itself, but the state of New York is actually quite phenomenal too, although no one thinks about the state of New York. But Moab specifically is just, it's some of the most extraordinary, iconic red rock locations that you've seen in films for many, many, many years, starting out with a lot of the John Ford movies back in the 1920s and then into, and onward. And it is... Yeah, the filming history there is next year, 2024, the Moab to Monument Valley Film Commission will be celebrating their 75th anniversary. So the longest ongoing film commission in the world.
That's remarkable.
And then when you're in a place like this at AFCI Week, which is the Association of Film Commissioners International, obviously, it's really fun when it comes up. It all started, woohoo, over here, like you're all here because of this thing.
And who would have thought that Moab, Utah would be the oldest, right?
Right. Yes. Who would have thought?
And within what you already mentioned, John Ford, and just the depth of the history that's there. Now, a lot of film commissioners are always seeking to get the new productions. How do you go about that? Or do you look at the production lists around the world? And how do you actually reach out to pull production into your area?
I travel to conferences like this one where I get to meet people depending on, I either go to meetings or meet people in the actual conference after the panels and things like that. I go to some of the film festivals. I usually definitely do Sundance because it's, host state. I've been to South by Southwest. I wasn't able to go this year, but it's just sort of meeting and talking. And if I say the word Moab, there's very few people on the planet that haven't heard of it at this point.
Except me.
Except you, which is kind of crazy because it happens to be not only an incredible filming history location, but it is a destination location for film tourism. Let's throw that out there. But also one of the most incredible outdoor sports adventure capital places on the planet. Whitewater rafting, mountain biking, jeeping, rock climbing, horseback riding, skydiving. It's like pretty much anything you can think of that has to do with outdoor recreation happens in the Moab area. And we also have 2 national parks, Arches National Park and Canyonlands National Park. And we also have a state park, Dead Horse Point. Yes, Dead Horse Point State Park, which is one of the most extraordinary places also for the sunset. And then we have a bunch of recreation areas too. And then we also have mountains. So in terms of like geological rock formations and structures and how the diversity of the landscape that I happen to represent is just beyond, because I do go from desert, red rock, like these rocks that you've seen in all these Westerns and sci-fi and, Westworld, and Thelma and Louise Point used to be an area called Fossil Point, but you can't even Google Fossil Point anymore. You can only Google it as Thelma and Louise Point. So it's like these things that film tourism has added on to. But yeah, I can't believe you. Do you really have never heard of it before?
I was actually speaking for the millions of people who listen to this podcast who may not have heard
of Moab.
About it.
Yeah. It's one of those.
We do reach out to people, all over the world, and it could be that way.
I hadn't heard of it back in the day in 1989 when I first went. Okay. I hadn't before
I'm
that.
also like somewhat of an NYU, New York kid, so there's only I get out on only a few blocks of the street. So there we go.
Right.
A lot of the film commissioners, of course, use incentives, commercial incentives, financial incentives, and others to do the shooting there. Do you have the same, or are you actually just the natural beauty and the uniqueness of where you are is enough?
I don't think in production these days that can be enough for the most part when you're dealing with feature films of a certain scale. But Moab has been known not just for its feature world and reality show and outdoor adventure sports stuff, but also for commercials. There's like sort of the bread and butter of the area has actually been commercial. Cars. I'm not going to mention any one brand, but yeah, endless amounts of vehicles and outdoor sports recreation catalogs and high-end fashion shoots. Like it's really, it's grown from that. But incentive-wise, we do in the state of Utah offer now, it just started last year, a rural Utah film incentive. And the Rural Utah Film Incentive is it's not as big as many others, but if you shoot up to 75% of your project in rural Utah, then you can get 25% back on your spend in post-performance. I, as the regional film office, don't deal with any of that aspect. That's all handled, applied for, and done through the Utah Film Commission. Luckily, because I'm a creative more than a mathematician, but yeah, I mean it's available, and that incentive actually just helped get one of the largest projects that I think the area has ever seen, and I basically worked the last 7 years of my life trying to get something of that ilk in, and. If you want me to talk about that further, I can.
Are you allowed to give us the name of this large project and who's behind it?
I just really wanted to have a cliffhanger. It's
we'll just cancel the show right now and leave everyone waiting for this cliffhanger.
It's actually a series of 4 films to be filmed within the state of Utah, we hope, as long as everything goes well, incentive-wise and stuff. But Kevin Costner,
who
he's a guy. He's done a couple movies.
He's a newcomer to the business.
Yeah, and he's kind of, I don't know, he did a couple movies. Okay. It always cracks me up though to what movie somebody thinks of when I say the name Kevin Costner. It's like, oh, he was in The Bodyguard, or like, oh, he was so great in Robin Hood, or
I was going to say No Way Out.
No Way Out, right? Or That's Your First, right? Or Tin Cup, or Dances with Wolves. I mean, literally everyone has their vision. I mean, these days it obviously is a Yellowstone related thing, but this is not Yellowstone, which did film in the state of Utah for a number of seasons.
It's still a cliffhanger here. It's Kevin Costner in
I
four
know,
films.
Kevin Costner. It's called Horizon. Like I'm looking out, riding off towards the horizon. Horizon, an American Saga. And it is a series of 4 movies, probably 2.5 to 3 hours long, that I am actually still unsure how they're going to be shown, distributed. I am, of course, being very visual person, hoping that they do it theatrical and we get to see it in movie theaters, because when you see just clips of it and you get to watch the monitor as the film commissioner having helped facilitate this, to go out to see what it looks like on a monitor is already extraordinary, but to see what it is going to look like on a giant screen is like too much for me. It's like almost too much. But so there's the possibility of it being theatrically distributed or doing like sort of an event like they used to back in the day, like on TNT, where they're like, and now for the next 3 hours, you'll watch, uninterrupted. I don't know.
That's first of all, thanks for sharing that with us. That's terrific, and being here in Los Angeles, and now that I know where you are, I'll take a trip out there and be a little bit recreational. Kelly, what about you?
I have driven through Utah. My daughter went to school in Boulder, Colorado, so I took that track, and it was always, Utah is the most beautiful place. Spend one night every time, just so we can, go for a hike in the morning. And I think it's awesome. I other than that, I've been to, Sundance, but that's
not the same.
That's my Utah experience.
But what's always been fun as the film commissioner for me the most is when I have somebody who's seen it in pictures potentially, or even in movies, and then they come and they're on the ground there and they literally look at me and say like, I can't believe it's real. I mean,
without being religious, I remember my first thought was, this is God's country.
And that's what they call it. Yeah.
Well, on that non-religious note.
For a bunch of non-religious people, sorry.
Hey, thank you very much. Have a great week here in Los Angeles.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Ciao.